Bhaktya vina aparadavakshay Chittascha karmaditarangamadye Kripa maitvam sharanam prapanam Brinde namaste charanarvindam Bhajami radham aravindanetram Smarami radham madhurashmitasyam Vadami radham karunavaradram Tato namanastikatena chapi Narayanam namaskrityam namchaiva namuttamam devim sarjatam vyasam vidojaya tudiraye. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dhanavad pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev Nityalila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashi Srimad Bhativedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nityalila Pravishta Om Astotar Sarashi Srimad Bhativedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, Dhanavad pranams. So, I'm going to speak for 7 mornings and 7 evenings on the Bhagavatam. And at this time, Kartik has just concluded 2013 Kartik, and we have this space to fill in with some Bhagavatam. So, before beginning any sort of description at all, I want to go through the first verse only of the Bhagavatam, and reading from the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He's given 5 different definitions of the first verse. So the first verse, it's talking about Satyam Parama Dhimahi. Who is our Ishtadev? Who is our worshipable object? Without making this very clear initially, then we can't actually enter into the Bhagavatam, because we don't know. We can enter into the Bhagavatam and get an idea, but if we understand the conclusion at the beginning, if we understand the path where we're going, who is that most worshipable object, then the entire Bhagavatam becomes focused on that object. If you're speaking about the Bhagavatam, or if you're writing about the Bhagavatam, and you have that clear conclusion in mind of what is the Satyam Parama Dhimahi. So in the first verse, this is described in 5 different ways that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to offer explanations on. But initially, before we enter into the Bhagavatam, before we begin to appreciate the pure conclusion, we must take shelter of Sri Guru. Without the shelter of Sri Guru, there can be totally no success. So, in order to understand Guru, we must hear his divine instructions. So it's described in the Bhajan Rahasya, chapter 5, verse 10. Radha Pada Vinay Kavu Krishna Nahi Mile. This is saying that without taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Radha, one can never meet Krishna. So our objective is to meet Krishna. Of course, which Krishna will be discussed and will be brought out more. But first of all, understanding this line. So first of all, taking shelter of Radha, then Radhika Dastira Krishna Sarva Veda Bole. The Vedic scriptures declare that Krishna is the property of the Manjaris. The Manjaris own Krishna, in a sense, because Krishna, his attachment to Sri Radha is beyond compare. And in order for him to fulfill his desires, then he must often take shelter of the maidservants, the manjaris of Sri Radha, in order to fulfill his desire. So we're entering into Bhagavatam here, and taking shelter of Guru. And taking shelter of Guru means appreciating first, initially, who is Radha. Has Guru taken shelter of Radha? If we're having a Guru and he's not explaining the Tattva of Radha regularly, then we can understand that perhaps he hasn't, he's not on the Uttam level. So again, in this Bhajan Rahasya, it's saying that it's Jagata Mohana Krishna Tanhara Mohini, that very Krishna who attracts the entire universe with his beauty, qualities, pastimes, nature, opulence and sweetness, Bhagavan, these 6 opulences, and other aspects, is himself attracted and rendered helpless by the unparalleled and unsurpassed love of Vrishabhanu Nandini Sri Radha. So this is Krishna's position. Krishna is rendered helpless. So in that helpless condition, it's the manjaris who very often make the arrangement for Radha's desire to be fulfilled, which is of course to be with Krishna, to be embraced by Krishna, and Krishna's most heartfelt desire to be fulfilled. Therefore, to become a manjari, a kinkari of Sri Radha, is the most cherished goal of the Gaudiyas. So what I'm explaining here is Guru Tattva, to understand the nature of Guru, where we are going with Guru. Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Kuru. This is from Sri Radha Pratana number 2. A kinkari, a manjari, is that young girl who's always asking, what service can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Her heart is filled with greed to please her Swamini, Sri Radha. What can I do? This is the nature of manjari. So, by Guru's mercy, this manjari bhav is revealed in the heart of the sadhak. So this manjari bhav is actually what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving in this age. What's that? Prem ras niryase karite ashvadam rag mag bhakti loke karite prachan. What is that rag mag that Mahaprabhu is giving? He's giving an understanding that if we take shelter of Sadguru in this age, who has understood the teachings of Mahaprabhu, then this manjari bhav is possible. Without this manjari bhav appreciation, how can we enter into the Bhagavatam? How can we know who is the Satyam Paramadimahi? So then, it's described that in Vaidhi Bhakti, or in reverence, we have this Sakshat Davitre Nasamasta Shastra, Yuktastata Bhavyata Eva Sadvi. We're singing that the qualities of the Lord reside in Guru. This is like a Vaidhi Marg mood. When we sing every single day this Guru Vastakam, we're singing Samsara Dharva Naradi Loka. This first verse is like actually Jiva Tattva. These first 4 verses, Mahaprabhu and Sri Vigraha and Prasad, these first 4 verses are actually something of like a Vaidhi Marg mood. Actually, the first 4 verses of Guru Vastakam, and then it comes clearly into Raganuga Marg in the 5th verse. Sri Radhika Madhavayora Para Madhurya Lila Guna Rupanama. This 5th verse, this is saying that at every moment Gurudev experiences intense greed in his heart to taste the unlimited sweetness of the holy names, forms, qualities and pastimes of Sri Radha Madhav in Vrindavan. So I'd like just to read a little bit here from Bhajan Rahasya. This is fluffing out an appreciation of Guru Tattva. Guru Tattva essentially is very, very deep. We've heard for so many years the understanding of Vaidhi Marg, but in Raganuga Marg we must appreciate what is Guru's swarup, what is his identity, this Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Siddhai. This 6th verse of the Guruvastakam is describing Guru's swarup. Sri Guru is always present with the Sakis, planning the arrangements for their pastimes. For the perfection of Yugal Kishore's amorous pastimes, Rati Keli, in the kunjas of Vrindavan. So this is Guru's activity. This is what Guru is doing. So in order to take shelter of that Guru, I must be understanding what are his activities, what are his pastimes. Perhaps we see Guru just sitting on a mat with our material conditioned consciousness, just thinking, oh, he's sitting here in one temple in Vrindavan. But actually, where is he sitting? In his heart. Understand that the heart is the place of consciousness, the chitta. This consciousness, when it is transcendently purified, then the heart can be residing in Goloka Vrindavan, even though it appears that the body is here. Seva Sadak Rupena. This understanding of where is the Sadak and where is his consciousness. So the consciousness of Sri Guru is residing in Vrindavan. Now, just to open this point more, in the text 10 of the 5th chapter of Bhajan Rahasya, it's very beautiful. I'd like to read some of this because it goes deeper into Guru Tattva. When we have this deep foundation of Guru Tattva, then we can really enter into Vrindavan. And then by the mercy of Guru, we can really enter into the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing less than this, ultimately. So to know this clearly, then the veil is lifted, so to speak, and we can relish the Bhagavatam. So in this text 10, Srila Bhativedanta Thakur is saying, the necessity of taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Radha is expressed by Sri Raghunath Das in his Swasankalpa Prakash Stotra. He's saying, how can a person become immersed in the ocean of ecstatic mellows of Shyam, Shyam Rasa Sindhu? Is our object to enter Ras? Is that the purpose of our sadhana, bhajan? Is that why we're here in Vrindavan? Or is it we want some liberation? Or what is it that we want? We have to be very clear on our desire. Gurudev said you can fine-tune your desire as much as 4 or 5 times a day. We must be very sure. When we first come to devotional service, we usually just want relief from the suffering. We usually just want liberation. But then gradually you realize that actually that liberation is not the highest taste or relish of the soul, because I'm hearing and understanding more. Understand that the soul is blocked by ignorance. It's like the soul is there, then there's a block of ignorance. And beyond that ignorance is vidya, is pure knowledge, is transcendence. So I have to clear this ignorance. This ignorance is made up of our various anartas. And the first anarta is Swarup Brahm. Swarup Brahm means confusion about where I'm going, or what I'm trying to attain. So by discussing this Guru Tattva, by taking shelter of Guru Tattva, it's Guru who's going to give us the clear focus on where I'm going. If I know where I'm going, I can go very fast. If I'm not really unsure, if I'm vague, I'm just sort of flopping around a bit of giza giza giza, hari hari hari, ram ram ram, dancing in the kirtan, something, something, something. But I don't really know explicitly what is the goal. As you develop your devotional service, as you progress on this path, these truths become more and more clear of where I'm actually going. Initially, perhaps we're a bit acting like a robot, just appreciating deeply the beauty and sweetness of devotee association, and Thakurji and Mahaprasad and service, etc. And so much relish is there. But then gradually, I'm wanting to understand more and more what is the ultimate limit? What is my highest potential? What is the prayojan? Where am I going? And that is only revealed by Sri Guru. So understanding Guru Tattva takes us into all these subject matters. So how can a person become immersed in the ocean of ecstatic mellows of Shyam Rasa Sindhu, if he has never worshipped the dust of Sri Radha's lotus feet, if he has never taken shelter of her pastime place, Sri Vrindavan, which is marked with the impressions of her lotus feet, if he has never served devotees whose hearts are already submerged in her profound sentiments, it will never be possible. So Guru's heart is submerged. As I just said, even if it seems that he's just sitting here in the material world, his heart is submerged in the sweetness of Sri Radha's moods. This is the nature of Sadguru. Now Gurudev is saying in his Vritti, while remembering this stotra, Srila Bhativedanta Thakur yearns to attain the wonderful and astonishing service of Sri Radha Madhav. In order to be submerged in the ocean of Shyam Ras, Sringara Ras, it is absolutely essential to worship the dust of the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika, who is the personification of Pladini, to worship Sri Vrindavan Dham, her place of playful, amorous pastimes, Kedi Vilas Stala, and to worship her dearmost devotees. Who are her dearmost devotees, other than those pure devotees in our exalted Gaudiya line? These are her pure devotees, the Uttam Bhagavats. So to take shelter of those devotees through their personal presence or through carefully trying to absorb and drink their instructions day by day, trying to enter into his mood. What was the mood that Bhativedanta Swami Prabhupada gave to the world? He gave a mood to the world of deep compassion for these suffering conditioned entities. Help them. But Bhativedanta Srila Narayan Maharaj, my Gurudev, our Gurudev, most of us here, has gone further. He's gone to a place of understanding what is the nature of Gokul, where we are trying to encourage these conditions. If everyone just moves forward, you know, you're all sitting on the very fringes of the carpet. There's a huge carpet here. What is the big deal? Really? I'm cold sitting here without anyone's energy. Thank you. So we're entering into the Bhagavatam. We're entering into the Bhagavatam properly. As I've described, some of you have just arrived. I'm only going to discuss the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam for the next 7 days, because Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives 5 clear, different explanations of the first verse. If we understand the first verse, which contains, of course, the entire Bhagavatam, so it's not that any of the Bhagavatam is going to be omitted, but if we appreciate the first verse, we get the entire Bhagavatam, like in a jar, it's described. So we could spend months just going over this first verse, but in order to actually get something from it, we have to have the mercy of Sri Guru. And we have to have the mercy of Sri Guru, we have to understand his position, his place. We have to understand his tattva, and we have to understand our own personal sambandha, our own personal relationship with him. All of us have a relationship with him. That relationship has to be growing. It has to be progressive. How will it be progressive? By continually feeling a sense of gratitude to Guru. How will that keep, how will I feel more grateful each day? By understanding his position, his identity each day. Guru Tattva can be discussed forever, because it's only the link with Guru that is going to give us that particle of Sri Radha's dust, ultimately. Because Sri Guru, as we're describing, is one of these kinkaris. All of our Guru Varga, Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, Sanatana Goswami, Lavanga Manjari. Jiva Goswami, Vilasa Manjari. Narottam, also Vilasa Manjari. And Raghunath Das is Tulsi Manjari or Rati Manjari. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself, Kamala Manjari. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Kasturi Manjari. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Nayani Manjari. Then Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj is Vinod Manjari, our Gurudev, Radha Raman Manjari. All this Manjari to please Radha, which is going to please Krishna. So this is the Satyam Parama Dhimahi that we're going to be discussing. Who is that worshipable object? It's none other than Radha. In his explanations, the first explanation that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives that we'll read is a conception of the Aishwarya mood of Sri Krishna. But this does not control Krishna. This cannot be the Satyam Paramadhimahi, because without that mood of control, controlled by love, the quality of love has not fluffed out, it's not blossomed. It's begun. Aishwarya, don't doubt or throw out Aishwarya consideration. We've discussed many times how it creates deep respect. It creates deep understanding. It strips the dross of ignorance away from the consciousness of the conditioned jiva. It takes away that ignorance, and then our swarup becomes to glimmer. But the swarup hasn't actually woken up. It hasn't started beating its heart, it's pumping, it's not blossoming until it understands this path of rag, of pure, sweet relationship. Because we see through all the pastimes of Krishna, where is his heart? When he's in Dwarka, what sort of relationship does he have there with the queens of Dwarka? They're complaining one time to Narad, every night Krishna is weeping and weeping on the pillow. He's never calling out, Satyabhama, Rukmini, Mitravinda, Lakshman, where are you? He's never calling out these names. He's always calling out, Radha, Lalita. He's even calling out, Yashoda Mai, Nanda Baba. He's even calling out Sridham, Subha, Madhumangal. He's even calling out the names of his cows. Gange, Shyame, Jamune, Kalinde. He's calling out these rather than he's calling out us. This is Sambandha. This is Sambandha Madhurya in Braj. So this is where Krishna's heart is. So if I want that Krishna, if my sadhana is focused on that Krishna, then I'm progressing the way Srila Gurudev has described. If it's anything separate to that, it's not in accordance with Gurudev's writings. I'm reading Gurudev's writings here in Bhajan Rahasya. He's quoting from, he's commenting on the quote from Bhativedanta Thakur. He says, besides this method, there is no way to attain service of Sri Radha Madhav. Considering there to be another way is only a vain and useless hope. Sri Radha Rasa Sudanidhi confirms this. Radha Dasyam Apasya Ya Paryante Govinda Sangasya So Yam Purna Shiro Ruchye Paryacham Rakam Vina Kinkarshiti. Those who endeavor to attain the association of Sri Krishna but reject Radha Dasya are like people who endeavor to see the full moon when it's not the full moon. How can you see the full moon night when it's not the full moon? How is it possible? It's completely impossible. So it's completely impossible to reach Krishna, to control Krishna, without the mercy of Sri Radha. And to get the mercy of Sri Radha, we need the mercy, just like Krishna himself needs the mercy of Radha, as we said in the beginning, of the Kinkaris, of the Manjaris. And this is Guru's identity. He's come to this world at this time to show us this path. This is who is Guru. We sing every single day. Nikunja Yuno Rati Keli Sitai. Every day we're singing that. Is the purport becoming realized? Understand, realization is a progressive thing. We realize something now, and tomorrow we'll realize it deeper, and the next day deeper. This is why it's very wonderful to be with older devotees, because their realizations have become very grave and very mature and very relishable. You know, they're very sweet, they're juicy, they're like a ripened, mature fruit. Like a mango that is really like ready to be taken. It's all juicy, it's full of juice. This is how, when you meet a purified devotee, an advanced devotee, a senior devotee, someone who is really immersed in these pastimes exclusively. They're not just running on the street all day distributing books. They're actually thinking about Lalita and Vishaka and Brajabhumi. They're thinking about the spiritual conception. Books, of course, have to be distributed. By distributing the book, we are getting the mercy of Guru. What is the mercy of Guru? To come to that personality who will be describing these Vrindavan pastimes. Sadguru, who will take us into Vrindavan. Sri Vrindavan Dham. This is the nature. This is our path. This is how we're progressing. Also, Stavavali states, Ya ekam govindam bhajati kapate dam vikyate tad abhyarne shrine krasham apina yami vritam idam. I will never go near a hypocrite who worships Govinda alone without Radha. This is my vow. If Shyam is directly the emperor of all transcendental mellows and the embodiment of Sringara Ras, then Srimati Radhika, in the form of Madinakya Mahabhav, then Sri Radhika is the form of Madinakya Mahabhav. Srimati Radhika, with her Sringara Ras, feeds Shyam honey in the form of Kandarpa, Cupid. So I've described many times how Gurudev explains that Krishna is like the music shop owner. He has millions of instruments, but he can't play any of them alone. We can relate to this, because how can we express our deepest feelings of affection alone? There must be a subject and an object. If we're talking about the realm of love, which is beyond the realm of awe and majesty, then there must be a subject and an object. So there must be two. So we experience different moods and feelings. We can say material rasa, when you engage in, exchange with your mother, you have a certain mood. When your father, a certain mood. Your brother, a certain mood. Your husband, a certain mood. Your wife, a certain mood. The postman, a certain mood. The shop owner, another, etc. We have all these, but you can't bring that out unless you have that reflection, that person to bring it out. So it's like Radha, she plays all these dormant rasas within Krishna. She wakes them all up. There are 390 nayaks. Each nayika represents a principal mood or exchange, a rasa. So Krishna is tasting that mood. Sri Radha manifests all those nayikas from Sri Radha's Kaya Vyuha. We have to understand all this package to appreciate who is Guru. Without understanding this, how can we really appreciate Guru in his form, in the spiritual world, which is only that of maidservant of Sri Radha, a kinkari. Kinkari, what is kinkari? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Enthusiastic service. The verse before that, 6th verse in the Guru Vastakam, is saying, very enthusiastically Gurudev is every moment seeking the amorous meeting of Sri Radha and Krishna. So this is all in the understanding of Guru Tattva. Vrindavan Dham is the place of Sri Radha Madhav's various pastimes, Leela Vilas. Sri Yugal Kishore roam here, performing their pastimes in the land of Vrindavan. And the land of Vrindavan is marked with the impression of their lotus feet. So we've just concluded a whole month of Braj Mandal Prikrama. We've had the opportunity to go to so many, how many you think? 30, 40, 50? 50 places? Maybe more? Places of Krishna and Radha's pastime? How many places did we go to? We all went to a different number, I'm sure. But maximum? What can we cover in a month? Gurudev said that Narada Muni has given a benediction that if you go to these pastime places during the month of Kartik, then these pastimes will start to play in your heart. Narada Muni has given this benediction. With deep sincerity, if you visit these pastime places, take the dust on your head, particularly in the month of Kartik, then at some point these pastimes will actually start to blossom in the heart of the sadhak. This is and Narada Muni's benedictions are never false. Rishit is like these two sons of Kuvera, Naligriva and Manikuvira. We see how they, they were such sinful wretches, really sinful wretches. They had no devotion at all. They completely turned their back on Krishna. Yet by that benediction from Narada Muni, they became liberated and had darshan directly of Brajendranandan Shri Krishna in Vrindavan. This is phenomenal that they should get that. But it's saying in the commentaries there, we read in the Damodar Astakam, how Krishna is always bound by the benediction of his great devotee Narad. So Narad's giving this benediction. Whichever pastime places we've just been to, at some point they will start to flower in our hearts. And we'll understand them deeply. So, it's saying that Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings in Radhika Charana Padma, Radha Pantika Dharam Vrindavan Yantra Nam. And also Srimad Bhagavatam states, Anaya Radhito Nunam Bhagavan Hare Ishvara, that the gopis said, most certainly she is Sri Krishna's most highest worshipper. She is Krishna's worshipper. Therefore, being pleased with her, Shyamasundara has left us and taken her away to a solitary place. When Sri Krishna disappeared from the Rasastali, the gopis who were searching for him saw his footprints in the forest, along with Srimati Radhika's. Praising her good fortune, they said, here are the footprints of some gopi who is walking with the son of Nanda Maharaj. All of Vrindavan, including Govardhan and Radhakund, is the abode of Radha and Krishna's Keli Vilas and is marked with their footprints. So we're taking shelter of Vrindavan Dham, particularly in this month. And we can only take proper shelter through Guru's mercy. So this is Guru who's giving us this mercy, to appreciate Gurudev's identity, to appreciate what is the form of the mercy that he's giving us. Therefore we can understand what is that Satyam Paramadimahi. In the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's describing the object. And the object is this Satyam Paramadimahi. This is what we'll be hearing about over the next few days. What is the object, the final object? So now it's very clearly saying in this Bhajan Rahasya that this object is to take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Radha. And the only way possible to do that is through the mercy of Sri Guru, who has already taken that mercy, that shelter of Sri Radha. The sweetness of the rasa of Sri Radhe Shyam Sundara's pastimes can only be relished through association with and service to the great personalities who taste rasa and are submerged in the waves of this endless and eternal ocean of sweetness. So these were some reflections from Bhajan Rahasya on the understanding of Guru Tattva. Guru is also described as Mukunda Prishta, the nearest and dearest of Sri Krishna. Why is he nearest and dearest of Sri Krishna? Because Guru will be there when Krishna is bowing down, supplicating him, please let me into the Kunj. And Guru may say, yes, you can. Understand, Krishna is still that person who has created all of the universes. It's achintya, it's inconceivable that this personality should create all the universes and everything within the universes. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matahar sarvam prabhatante. From him are emanating all these spiritual worlds and the material worlds, and yet this same person is on his knees to our Guru. We can reconcile easy because it's in the realm of love. Love controls. So this whole Bhagavatam is only about that quality. But we can only catch it and really start to understand it with the mercy of Guru, through the loving relationship we have personally with Guru. This loving relationship takes time to actually manifest. When Guru's manifest pastimes are here in front of us, we can begin our relationship physically. But when Guru has left this world, we get an even greater chance. It's not that now we're lost, now we have no direction. Actually, now we have a greater opportunity to really sit quietly and try and understand, what is it that my beloved Gurudev wanted to give me? Where was he taking me to? And then if we start to examine his teachings, his writings, through his devotees, through his words and so on, then we can enter more deeply into these topics and please Guru. By pleasing Guru, in a flash, in a second, that Goloka consciousness can come in the heart of the sadhak, and he can begin to see his eternal position in relationship with Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So it's described that the highest limits, Raghunath Das Goswami is describing in Manashiksha, that the highest limits of friendship with Sri Krishna is manifest in the Manjaris. I forever worship my Guru. This is from a verse. Radha Sanmukha Sain Saktim Shaki Sangha Nivasinam. I forever worship my Guru, who in the form of an exalted Saki is happily immersed in the company of Radha and the other Sakis. So Guru is described as a Pran Saki or a Nitya Saki. There are 5 types of Saki. There is Saki, Pran Saki, Nitya Saki, Priya Saki, and Priyanam Sakis. The Priyanam Sakis are like Lalita, Vishaka, Champakalata, Tungavidya, Sudevi, Ramadevi, etc. Chitra, Induleka, Chitra, Induleka, yeah. So these are the Priyanam Sakis. And then the Nitya Sakis and the Pran Sakis are those intimate maidservants of Sri Radha. These Sakis themselves are like Danishta Saki, who serves both Radha and Krishna. So these divisions are there for our understanding, our deeper understanding of who is Guru. Rasa Tattva is taking us into Guru. If we want rasa, if we think that is the reason for Mahaprabhu's advent, Prem Ras, he's tasting that Prem Ras himself, and he's coming to give us that Rag Mag Bhakti Loke. This is the gift of Mahaprabhu through his Shishyas, through his Rupanuga line. So it's also described that Guru is known as Radha Sneha Adhika. This means loved greatly by Sri Radha, therefore very near and dear to Sri Krishna, Mukunda Preshna. The realization that Sri Guru is a Manjari is essential for the Raganuga sadhak. There is no room for mental speculation, imagination or fantasy in this factual, bona fide process of Rag Mag. There's no room for Sahajiyism, in other words. Sahajiyism means that I'm not appreciating the exalted nature of my Guru. I'm not appreciating that Aishwarya aspect, if we don't have a foundation of the Aishwarya, why in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself it gives the first 9 cantos to describe the exalted position of Sri Krishna through so many different pastimes. All the pastimes, or most of the pastimes, are about kings, about very important people in this world, the Manvantaras, etc., all the great, rishis, etc. It's all about great personalities. This is making us understand the greatness of Krishna. The greatness of Krishna must be appreciated, and simultaneously we even more appreciate his sweetness. But without that Aishwarya, how can it make sense? It'll be just like Sahajya. So, this is the nature of Guru. And finally, Bhativedanta Thakur, he prays in his Gita Mala that my color will be lightning, like lightning. My garments, a host of stars. My name, Kamala Manjari. My age, eternally 12.5. My home, Svananda Sukhad Kunj. So he's giving his place. And Guru is the same. So to enter into this topic without taking shelter deeply of Sadguru, then how can we proceed really to unveil this Bhagavatam? So, if you have any questions, of course, you just speak out straight away. And you want to discuss anything, you ask. Okay? Don't be intimidated by anything. We're here, a very small group, to discuss. So if you have a question, if you have a doubt, speak out. So now I want to read from this first verse. Janmadi asya yato navyat itarash charashtu abhinat swalat. We will read from this. So initially, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we're reading from his commentary now. He's offering his Mangalacharya very beautifully to all the personalities. In particular, Mahaprabhu, he begins to invoke his mercy. And he's quoting this verse, Krishna swadadamo kajite dhanamajana divisaha kalona savichamisha purana kodhanodita. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun. This is what we're going to discuss. And it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna for his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of this age of ignorance, of Kali, shall get light from this Purana. So as I said in the beginning, it's this ignorance that is blocking our soul's connection with the spiritual reality. The ignorance has to be dissolved. How is it dissolved? First of all, it's analyzed. What is the ignorance that I'm caught up in? There are 4 anartas: Swarup Brahm, Asat Trishna, Aparad, and Hriday Dubalyam. We should understand these 4 anartas and see how are they blocking me today? A week ago they might have been different, and a week on they might be different, but the first anarta is Swarup Brahm. Swarup Brahm means confusion about my object. So by taking shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru, which is what I've attempted to describe this morning, what is his position in relationship to Sri Radha and Krishna, in particular in relationship to Sri Radha, by taking his shelter as a kinkari in Vrindavan, then I can understand my object. Then this Swarup Brahm, Anarta, becomes purified. Understand the sequence? I'm a logical type of person, unfortunately, because when I go into the world of Ras, it's, I like to have definitions. I like to have one step solid and then the next step. So if I'm too much over the edge in some sort of like quasi, place, I feel very shaky. I can't really move ahead in my heart. I can move with my head, but that's not The best place is to actually make the heart and the mind one. That's the place we're looking for. We're not looking just for the head or just the heart. Sometimes just the heart might be very sloppy without clear intelligence. So we need the two. We need mind and heart becoming one. This is the nature of the soul. It's not the soul has a mind and a heart. Of course the soul doesn't in that sense, but the soul is like one. They're walking in one direction. So from this sense, we've understood what is the heart of Guru. Guru he's melting with karunamayi, with compassion, and he wants to take us quickly to that wonderful place of consciousness, performing the pastimes with Radha and Krishna in the Goloka Vrindavan. So this is where he's taking us. Now, this morning we'll discuss just a little bit. We might not get through this first one, but this first explanation is like appreciating Krishna's greatness in particular. I'll just read you a very quick, because if you go to the end and know the conclusion, which is what we've been discussing, it's much easier to understand when we go in the beginning. Okay? It's like Gurudev, when he first came to the West, he would discuss so many rasic topics. And it wasn't until after 2 or 3 visits that he began to discuss Vacho Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam. You know, actually you have to follow rules and regulations and so on. He only began to explain that after he attracted us by the beauty and sweetness of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. So sometimes you show the conclusion first, and then you start to discuss how to reach that conclusion. So I'm just going to the very end of this explanation, these 5 explanations, and a summary of these explanations. So the first explanation of this first verse of Bhagavatam shows the nature as a light, giving deliverance from misery through general understanding of the Lord, or Adhyatma. In other words, the Lord is great. He's showering His mercy and His light upon me. This is the first explanation of the Aishwarya aspect of the Lord. And it's divine, it's sweet, it's relishable, it's wonderful. If we don't know this, and we think, oh, that's not for me, I'll just jump into Shringara Ras, you won't be able to swim. It's just like you have to go to a swimming pool with an instructor to show you how to swim. You might want to swim in the beautiful lake. You see them all swimming in the lake, you might want to do, but you can't, because you don't know how to swim yet. You'll drown. It's exactly the same analogy. So we have to learn how to swim first. Learning how to swim means I'm appreciating the magnificence and majesty of the Lord of creation, of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita is the law book for mankind, for all general people. It's described that it's the doorway, the threshold of Sharanagati, or Sharanagati itself is the threshold of bhakti. Bhakti means, when we refer to bhakti, we're talking about Shuddha Bhakti, that pure devotion. Because bhakti itself is the highest conclusion. So the first explanation, this first verse, shows the nature, shows Bhagavatam, the nature as a light, giving deliverance from misery through general understanding of the Lord. So this is what I described. Usually we come to devotional service and we want liberation. We want freedom from our suffering and miseries. But it's only after some time that we start to realize there's some wonderful relish here. Actually, the description of Bhav Bhakti, it's moksha lukhata krit. It's like I'm looking, moksha has no attraction for me in the stage of Bhav. Bhav Bhakti is what we've been talking about all morning. We haven't discussed really much of sadhana bhakti at this stage. We've just talked principally about the precepts of Bhav Bhakti. Bhav Bhakti are those sentiments expressed in Vrindavan for the service to Radha and Krishna. The sadhana bhakti, I discussed a little bit in the nature of anarthas, etc., that have to be purified. But understand these 3 stages of our practice. There's sadhana bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prema bhakti. We must understand these very clearly as we go through. Sadhana bhakti is described as klesh agni, when the fire of suffering has been burnt, and subhada, very auspicious. Your life, everything around just seems to go perfectly. You don't miss the bus anymore. You don't drop the milk on the floor. You don't make so many mistakes. You kind of have got, the whole thing is flowing beautifully. You're in your light, so to speak. This is like sadhana bhakti. This is what gets revealed. Everything starts to go very smoothly. The sufferings have minimized, almost, out of existence. This is what you can achieve through Vaidhi-marg. That's sadhana. But then the next stage, bhav bhakti, the first quality of bhav bhakti is moksha lughata krit, that I no longer am slightly interested in moksha or liberation. Liberation means the negation of all material miseries. So I'm not interested in that at all. It has no flavor. I'm only interested in Vrindavan and how to serve in Vrindavan. And then, what is it? Moksha lughata krit, Sandranandan. Is that right? No, Sudulabha. This position of bhav is very, very rare. So these four qualities describing 2 for sadhana and 2 for bhav. We should know this verse. Out of the different verses, this is a very beautiful description. These step by step to give us a clear entrance. So now it's saying the second explanation shows it as the sun, more powerful, destroying misconceptions of the demons, bringing joy to the devotees. So now this joy is being explained in the second explanation that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to explain. It's showing not just worshipping the Lord as Aishwarya, but appreciating the joy in the heart that comes from that worship. Understand this deeply, because Bhakti Devi herself brings so much joy to the Jivatma. This joy, this bhakti, is the result of our seva. It's not that that is going to be our goal ultimately. We want to bring joy to Radha and Krishna. Nevertheless, by bringing joy to them, we naturally receive that joy. This is defined by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as bhakti. I'm jumping ahead because I'm describing the conclusion. But we're going to read clearly how to understand these points that I'm making in the next few days through his explanation on these stages. I just wanted to explain in summary the 5 stages. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th explanations show that it is the bestower of tasty fruit full of rasa, revealing Madhurya Ras, Radha, and pure bhakti. It goes through a progression. It shows what is Madhurya Ras, who is Sri Radha, and what is bhakti. Bhakti is the final conclusion. That's the object of this Bhagavatam. Bhakti means devotion. Devotion to this Bhagavatam, this whole Bhagavatam is trying to inspire pure devotion to Radha and Krishna. That's the whole purpose of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So look, we have 5 minutes left of this class, or 10 minutes. Would anyone want to ask anything? I've discussed a lot of things this morning. I've tried to make a platform to put these explanations on. I've described what is Guru Tattva in depth, what is Guru's identity in the spiritual world in depth, what is his seva in that world, how is that translating into this world, in my sambandha with Guru. And then I've described that by taking his shelter, now we have developed some eligibility to get the mercy from the words of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describing the Bhagavatam verse, the first verse of the Bhagavatam, which will cover all the Bhagavatam, in fact. So has that prompted any inquiry from anybody? Or is everyone just kind of nodding off them? Was it clear?
Yes.
Was anything not clear?
No.
We've got a line here. We've got Guru, and then we've got his Swarup, we've got Sri Radha, and then we have our service to Sri Radha and that mercy coming to enter here. So I'll start this first explanation a little bit then, if no one has any questions at all.
Can you just repeat those last 5, because it sort of goes in order, doesn't it? The 5.
Last 3. No, the first one is there's only 5 explanations that he gives. That's quite a lot. Actually, there's more explanations. That's just the beginning. But the first is like the light, the greatness. The second is that he's imparting joy to the devotees, and it's a more personal aspect. The first is somewhat not impersonal, but not as personal. And then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th explanations he lumps together show that this is Madhurya Ras. What is the meaning of Madhurya Ras? The sweetness of Krishna, as opposed to his Vaikuntha pastimes. And then, who is Sri Radha? Otherwise, how can I be communing with my Guru in a really close way unless I'm knowing who is Radha, who is the person that I'm trying to serve like he is serving? And then, what is the bhakti? What is pure bhakti? Pure bhakti. It's an interesting way he's written it, but he's concluding that pure bhakti, pure devotion, is the goal for you and me. It's pure devotion. It's not Radha and Krishna. Of course it is Radha and Krishna, it's our pure devotion to them. But it's the pure devotion as an entity practically. Shuddha Bhakti. Very sweet. Yeah.
You talked about love being based on the subject and object.
Yes.
Do you think that love in the material world, when we try to love ourselves, this whole thing, you must love yourself before you can love others, is that actually increasing our duality and our binding us to the material world? Because we're creating the subject and an object within ourselves. So instead of being the subject to the object, we're creating subject and object in ourselves, and it's causing duality and binding.
Yeah. Ultimately, his question is about, if we're trying to love ourselves, where is the subject and object? Is that creating duality in the mind? So, yes, it is creating tremendous duality. And it's only taking us ultimately to a path of the Brahmand. That's the ultimate conclusion of this path. But this is the only experience that we've ever had, so there's a good reason why we are inclined that way. It's not that I'm just, a selfish person, but when I was originally in that, it's described, that region, before I was thrown into the Tatashta, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati describes, within the body of Mahavishnu, we are in a state, what's called Shantaras. This is our spiritual condition. There are 3 types of jiva. I have to explain it this way to explain it fully. There's 3 types of jiva. One that is manifesting from Lord Balaram immediately in Goloka Vrindavan for the Vrindavan pastimes, directly into Goloka Vrindavan. A second type is coming into Vaikuntha for the glorification of Lord Narayan and Lakshmi Devi there. The third type is coming from the Tatashta. Those jivas coming into the Tatashta. Tatashta simply means, I want this or I want that. Black and white. It's like this delineation mark. And prior to coming into that Tatashta, because the jivas are eternal, they were within the body of Mahavishnu. And in that eternal condition, they are in a place called Shantaras. They don't want to go up to Vaikuntha, and they don't want to come down to the material world. They're just like stones. They're just like one. So we all have that intrinsic sanskar within ourselves. Do you understand? That's why many of us are inclined in the impersonal path, because we've already had some experience of it, actually. Although that is the challenge of this opportunity in this material world, is to actually now take advantage of the personal forms we see all around us and our own personal natures, and develop some relationship with those personal objects to break that cycle of duality. Because you can never get in. Of course, you have to be gentle with yourself. So when you say be kind to yourself, that means knowing how to navigate through. You don't put yourself in a situation where you've understood it's going to freak me out, you know. You go carefully through. You tread step by step with caution. This is the path of Vaidhi. The path of Vaidhi is you're looking from the rules and regulations very carefully with each step. Then I'm looking around to see, yes, is it okay to put the next step? Then I put the one. This is the first path. This is trying to understand how to actually proceed in devotional life. So don't put yourself somewhere where it's just going to completely... So this is in a sense of, you know, loving yourself, you could say, in the sense I think that you're speaking from. Anyway, certainly that will create duality is the answer to your question, without a doubt. And that duality will just, I mean, they call it even bipolar. I mean, we're all bipolar or tripolar or scripolar or whatever, you know, everybody. There's nobody I know in the world who's not. But these stupid doctors today, they choose to give, oh, this particular person, we'll give him a special medal and say he's like this and he's like that. It's just all rubbish. It's just all made up out of their imagination. You know, if you take that off, that sign off, you've probably got like artist, you know, or writer, or, you know, musician, or someone like who doesn't fit the regular formulated bill, you know. It's all completely bogus, those labels that they throw on people. Rubbish. We're all half in this world, half in that world. Some of us drives us crazy. Until we reach the resolute position, I am a spiritual being, servant of Krishna, Jivara Sripad Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti, Beda Abeda Prakash. Until I reach this simple point of who am I? It's the first question we should ask. It's the first Kiyami, the first question Sanatana Goswami asked. Who am I? Otherwise, you will be bipolar, tripolar, all the rest of it, you know? Because you'll be thinking I'm spirit and I'm material, and be flopping this way and that way. It's not a fact. We are spirit soul, and now, unfortunately, in this birth, we have these bodies. It's not unfortunate, because now I can take my spirit soul. It's greatly fortunate, yes. I can take my spirit soul to such a higher potential. If I was still in that eternal realm in the body of Mahavishnu, how could I possibly get to that place in Goloka Vrindavan? Not possible, not conceivable. We must understand Jiva Tattva to understand Guru Tattva. Jiva Tattva is not something that you can understand and put in your pocket, actually. The whole conception of Jiva Tattva is constantly like expanding. But the principle of Jiva Tattva should be very clear. Where I've come from and why I have this dualistic mentality, which makes me flop around. Okay. I'm only going to give from 8 o'clock each morning until 9 o'clock. Is that okay? And we'll have some chanting before at 7:30, and I'll speak from 8 till 9. Part of getting ourselves together is getting things on time. You see, all the acharyas would do very, you know, they had a timetable because they wanted to accomplish something. I hope at the end of this week you will feel great inspiration to want to accomplish something, so you won't have time for anything else except the, you know, fulfilling of that accomplishment, you know, of performing our sadhana. Our sadhana, that regulated service, helps this mind which is so packed with billions of previous sanskars. What to speak of all the stuff we've picked up in this life? You know, it needs to be settled. It gets settled by sadhana. Sadhana initially means regulation. Oh, but I have to go to work and this I have to do. You can still do it within that. I often tell the story of that friend in Hawaii, Prabhupada disciple. He goes to work every day at about 5 o'clock on his motorbike. He's a bulldozer driver. You know, he sings the samsara prayers all the way to a certain bend, and then he sings the, you know, other prayers, and then he even says his Gayatri, actually, on his motorbike, and then he finally gets there, and all day long he's just being blasted with audio books and people speaking. He has huge speakers in his cab, and then his wife rings him up every single day at 11 o'clock and gives him a Bhagavatam class over the loudspeakers. So there isn't actually, for the enthusiastic jiva who really wants to get out of this muck, there is no excuse except our clever mind trying to make some situation where it's kind of comfortable in the material world. No problem. Stay another birth, and another birth, and another birth. We'll just keep staying here. The more comfortable we make it, the more longer we want to stay here. So don't worry about all those things. And the less you're interested in comfort, the more time you have for the actual sadhana. Isn't it our comfort zones take up most of our time? I want to know this, I want to know that. Oh, I just needed this, I just needed that. And all these things are taking up our time away from, the practice that we want to develop. Regulation. Okay, so I didn't even begin the first explanation. So tomorrow, by Gurudev's mercy, I'm going to start this first explanation. There's 5 explanations, and together, I'll tell you now, I've never spoken on this topic before in this manner, and I'm very, very excited about it. There's all sorts of ways you can speak from the Bhagavatam. Last year, we spoke from Bhagavatam also. We described 10 different aspects, Atrashago, Vishagascha, all the different, that Stanam, Poshanam, Uttaya, Mantavya, Anushu, Kata, Nirodho, what's the next one? Mukti, Ashraya. These 10 subject matters of the Bhagavatam is what we described last year. We opened out the Bhagavatam like that. But this year, I want to go into it much more with Vrindavan, with Sri Radha, with Lalita and Vishaka. I want to go into the Bhagavatam that way. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that's the only way he goes into it. But he explains it carefully, one step at a time, so you don't break a leg running. When we get to the path of Raganuga, we run without even thinking. But can you do that now? Probably not. I can't. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nandikota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gopinath ki. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.